What happens when one of Hollywood's most respected action stars gets ambushed on live television by a host who seems more interested in tearing him down than celebrating his legacy? In just 36 seconds, a single question would shatter the illusion of a friendly chat and expose the ugly truth about what really happens when egos collide in front of millions of viewers. Wesley Snipes walked onto that stage expecting a conversation. What he got was something else entirely, something darker, something that would force him to make a choice between his dignity and playing along with a game he never agreed to play. The audience was still clapping when Jennifer Hudson greeted Wesley with that trademark smile of hers. Big, bright, perfect for the cameras. Wesley smiled back, gave a little wave, and settled into the guest chair. The studio lights were hot. The crowd was buzzing with energy. Everything seemed normal. Everything seemed fine. Wesley Snipes, everybody, Jennifer said, her voice dripping with that rehearsed enthusiasm. Talk show host perfect over years of practice. Thank you so much for being here. It is such an honor. Wesley nodded. Thank you for having me. Great to be here. Now, I have to say, Jennifer continued, leaning forward slightly, you have had quite the career. Blade, Demolition Man, White Men Can't Jump. I mean, these are iconic films. I've been blessed, Wesley replied. I've worked with some incredible people, incredible directors. It's been a journey. The audience applauded again. So far, so good. Just two celebrities having a chat. Nothing unusual. Nothing to worry about. But then Jennifer's expression shifted just slightly. Just enough that if you were paying attention, you might have noticed something change in her eyes. Something colder creeping in behind that smile. But let's talk about what everyone really wants to know, she said. And there was an edge to her voice now, a sharpness that cut through the pleasantries. Let's talk about the tax situation. Wesley's smile didn't fade, but it froze, became fixed. He knew where this was going now. I mean, you went to prison, right? Jennifer pressed on, not waiting for him to respond. You went to prison for tax evasion? That's not something a lot of people can say. How does someone like you, someone with all that money, all that success, how do you just forget to pay your taxes? The audience went quiet, uncomfortably quiet. This wasn't banter anymore. This was something else. Wesley took a breath, kept his composure. Well, Jennifer, that situation was a lot more complicated than people realize. There were accountants involved. Lawyers, a whole team of people. It wasn't as simple as just forgetting to pay. But you still went to prison, Jennifer interrupted. You still did the time. 3 years, wasn't it? 2 years and 10 months, Wesley corrected quietly. Right, Jennifer said, waving her hand dismissively. 2 years and 10 months behind bars with criminals. How did that feel, being treated like a common criminal? Wesley's jaw tightened. You could see it. The way his whole body tensed up, but he kept his voice level, calm. I paid my debt to society. I took responsibility for what happened. I served my time and I moved forward. That's what you do. You learn from your mistakes and you move on. Sure, Jennifer said, but her tone suggested she didn't believe him. But do you think you deserved it? I mean, honestly, do you think you deserve to go to prison? I think the justice system made its decision, Wesley said carefully. And I respect that. I'm not here to argue about what happened 15 years ago. I'm here to talk about the work I'm doing now. But Jennifer wasn't interested in the work he was doing now. She was locked onto this topic like a dog with a bone. Because I have to say, she continued, when I heard about it at the time, I just thought, how irresponsible, how careless. You had everything. Everything. And you threw it away because you couldn't be bothered to file your taxes correctly. I mean, come on. The audience shifted in their seats. You could hear people murmuring now. This was uncomfortable. This was crossing a line. Wesley's expression hardened. Jennifer, with all due respect, you don't know what you're talking about. You weren't there. You don't know the details of what happened, the circumstances, the people involved. You're making judgments based on headlines. I'm making judgments based on facts, Jennifer shot back. The fact is you went to prison. The fact is you broke the law. Those are facts, Wesley. And the fact is I served my time, and I've been working hard ever since to rebuild my career and my reputation, Wesley said, his voice rising slightly now. I've done everything right since then. Everything. And I came on this show thinking we were going to have a respectful conversation, not a public shaming. Jennifer leaned back in her chair, crossing her legs. Oh, so now I'm shaming you? I'm asking questions, Wesley. That's what we do here. We have real conversations. We don't just sit here and blow smoke and pretend everything is perfect. There's a difference between asking questions and attacking someone, Wesley replied. And what you're doing right now feels a lot more like the latter. Attacking you? Jennifer laughed. But it wasn't a genuine laugh. It was sharp, mean. Wesley, if you can't handle a few tough questions, maybe you shouldn't be doing press tours. Maybe you should just stay home. That was it. That was the moment. You could see it happen in real time. Wesley's face changed. The politeness dropped away. The Hollywood smile vanished. You know what? He said quietly, standing up from his chair. I think I will. Jennifer's eyes widened. Wait, what are you doing? I'm leaving, Wesley said simply. Because I don't need this. I don't need to sit here and be disrespected on national television by someone who clearly has some kind of agenda. Agenda? Jennifer sputtered. What agenda? I'm just doing my job. Your job is to have a conversation, Wesley said, his voice calm but firm. Not to ambush your guests, not to humiliate them. I came here in good faith, and you turned this into a circus. The audience was dead silent now. Everyone was watching. Everyone was holding their breath. Jennifer stood up too. Her face flushed. You can't just walk off my show. That's incredibly unprofessional. Wesley turned to look at her, and when he spoke, his voice was ice cold. Unprofessional? You want to talk about unprofessional? You just spent the last 10 minutes dragging me through the mud for something I already paid for, something I already took responsibility for. You didn't ask me about my new projects. You didn't ask me about anything positive. You just wanted to make me look bad so you could feel superior. That's not true, Jennifer protested. But her voice was weaker now, less certain. It is true, Wesley said. And you know it. Everyone watching knows it. You brought me on here to tear me down, and I'm not going to stand for it. I have too much self-respect for that. He started walking toward the exit. The cameras followed him. The audience was still frozen, unsure how to react. Wesley, come on. Don't be like this. We're just having a conversation, Jennifer called after him. But Wesley didn't stop. Didn't turn around. He just kept walking. Fine, Jennifer shouted, her composure finally cracking completely. Go ahead and run away, just like you ran away from your responsibilities. That made Wesley pause. He stopped walking, turned around slowly, and when he spoke, his voice was low and dangerous. What did you just say? Jennifer's face went pale. She realized immediately that she'd gone too far. I just meant. No, Wesley cut her off. You said I ran away from my responsibilities after I just explained to you that I took full responsibility for what happened. After I told you I served my time and worked hard to make things right, and you're still coming at me with this disrespectful nonsense. I didn't mean it like that, Jennifer said quickly, trying to backtrack. Yes, you did, Wesley said. You meant it exactly like that. Because from the moment I sat down in that chair, you've been looking for ways to belittle me, to make me feel small, and I have to wonder why. What did I ever do to you? Why do you have so much hostility toward me? Jennifer didn't have an answer. She just stood there, mouth opening and closing, searching for words that wouldn't come. That's what I thought, Wesley said. You don't even know. You just decided before I got here that you were going to come after me. And you did. Well, congratulations. You got your moment. You got your drama. I hope it was worth it. He turned to leave again. And this time, Jennifer didn't try to stop him. She just watched him go, her face a mixture of anger and humiliation. But Wesley wasn't done. Right before he reached the exit, he turned back one more time. You know what the saddest part about all of this is? He said. I actually used to respect you. I thought you were talented. I thought you were better than this. But I guess everyone shows their true colors eventually. And with that, he walked off the stage. The door closed behind him with a heavy thud that echoed through the silent studio. For a long moment, nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Jennifer just stood there in the middle of her stage, looking lost, looking small. The audience didn't know whether to clap or stay quiet. The cameramen didn't know where to point their cameras. Finally, Jennifer turned to face the audience, forcing a smile that looked more like a grimace. Well, she said, her voice shaky. That was unexpected. Let's go to commercial. The lights dimmed. The cameras cut away, but the damage was done. What happened in those next few minutes while the show was on commercial break? Nobody knows for sure. But when they came back, Jennifer's demeanor had changed completely. The cockiness was gone. The aggression was gone. She looked rattled. Genuinely rattled. We're back, she said, trying to regain some composure. And as you saw before the break, our guest, Wesley Snipes, decided to leave the show. I want to address that for a moment. The audience waited. What would she say? Would she apologize? Would she double down? Look, Jennifer continued. Interviews can be tough sometimes. Questions can be uncomfortable, but that's part of the job for both of us. I stand by the questions I asked. They were fair questions about a public situation. However, she paused, choosing her words carefully. However, I also recognize that the tone of this conversation may have become more confrontational than intended. That wasn't my goal. My goal is always to have honest, open dialogues with my guests. Sometimes those dialogues get heated. That's just the nature of real conversation. It wasn't an apology. Not really. It was more of a justification, an attempt to save face. But the audience wasn't buying it. You could see it on their faces, the way they looked at her, the way they whispered to each other. They'd seen what happened. They'd heard the things she said, and they knew who was in the wrong. Jennifer tried to move on with the show. She introduced her next guest, tried to crack jokes, tried to pretend everything was normal. But the energy was off. The whole thing felt hollow, forced, like everyone was just going through the motions until they could get out of there. Meanwhile, Wesley Snipes was in his dressing room gathering his things. His publicist was there. His manager was there. Everyone was there trying to do damage control. But Wesley was calm, eerily calm. "Are you okay?" his publicist asked. "I'm fine," Wesley said. "I'm better than fine, actually. I feel good." "You feel good?" his manager said incredulously. "Wesley, you just walked off a major talk show. This is going to be everywhere." "Good," Wesley said. "Let it be everywhere. Let people see what happened. Let them see how I was treated. I have nothing to hide. I stood up for myself. I refused to be disrespected. If that makes me the bad guy in some people's eyes, so be it." His publicist shook her head. "The network is going to want a statement. Jennifer's people are going to want a statement. Everyone is going to want a statement." "Then here's my statement," Wesley said, looking directly at her. "I came to that show in good faith to promote my work and have a pleasant conversation. Instead, I was ambushed with hostile questions about a situation from years ago that I've already addressed countless times. I was talked down to, interrupted, and ultimately insulted. No one deserves to be treated that way, celebrity or not. I walked off because I value myself too much to sit there and be disrespected." End of statement. And that was it. That was all he had to say about it. No apologies, no regrets, just the truth. Back on the show, Jennifer was struggling. Her next guest, a comedian promoting his new special, could sense the tension. The interview was stilted, awkward. Nothing flowed naturally. The comedian did his best to bring some energy, to get some laughs, but it was like trying to light a fire in the rain. When the show finally ended and the camera stopped rolling, Jennifer retreated to her dressing room. Her producers followed her, all of them talking at once. "We need to figure out how to spin this," one of them said. "We need to get ahead of the narrative." Another added, "We need to make sure people understand your side of the story," a third chimed in. But Jennifer just sat there staring at herself in the mirror. For the first time since the whole thing started, she was really seeing herself, seeing what she'd done, seeing how she'd acted. "I messed up," she said quietly. The producer stopped talking. "What?" one of them said. "I said I messed up," Jennifer repeated louder this time. "I went too hard. I made it personal. I let my own. I don't know what I let happen, but I handled that wrong." Her head producer stepped forward. "Jennifer, you were just doing your job. You ask tough questions. That's what journalists do." "I'm not a journalist," Jennifer said. "I'm a talk show host. And talk show hosts are supposed to make their guests feel welcome, supposed to have fun conversations, supposed to lift people up, not tear them down. And I tore Wesley Snipes down for no good reason. He went to prison," the producer argued. "That's a legitimate topic." "It's a legitimate topic if he wants to talk about it," Jennifer countered. "If it's part of his press tour, if he's written a book about it or made a documentary. But he didn't. He came here to talk about his new film, and I hijacked the interview to satisfy my own curiosity, or my own need to seem tough, or whatever it was. And I lost a guest because of it. More than that, I disrespected someone who didn't deserve it." The producers exchanged glances. This wasn't going the way they'd hoped. "So, what do you want to do?" one of them asked. Jennifer thought about it for a moment. "I want to apologize publicly. On the next show." "Are you sure that's a good idea?" the producer asked. "It might make you look weak." "I don't care how it makes me look," Jennifer said. "It's the right thing to do." But whether that apology ever came, whether Jennifer ever truly understood what she'd done wrong. That's not what people remember about that day. What they remember is Wesley Snipes standing up for himself. Wesley Snipes refusing to be diminished. Wesley Snipes walking off that stage with his head held high. Because in that moment, he reminded everyone watching that you don't have to accept disrespect just because someone has a microphone and a camera. You don't have to smile and nod when someone is tearing you down. You don't have to play along with someone else's game if the rules are rigged against you. Wesley showed millions of people that it's okay to walk away. It's okay to protect your peace. It's okay to demand better treatment. And sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is simply refuse to participate in your own humiliation. The whole confrontation lasted maybe 15 minutes from start to finish. 15 minutes that felt like an eternity to everyone in that studio. 15 minutes that would be replayed, analyzed, and debated for weeks afterward. 15 minutes that would define how a lot of people saw both Wesley Snipes and Jennifer Hudson going forward. For Wesley, it became a moment of respect. People praised him for standing his ground, for not backing down, for showing that accountability doesn't mean accepting abuse. He'd paid his debt to society years ago, and he didn't owe Jennifer Hudson or anyone else a performance of shame and groveling. The interview, or what there was of it, became a case study in how not to conduct yourself as a host. It became a cautionary tale about the difference between asking tough questions and being needlessly cruel. It became an example of what happens when ego and entertainment collide in the worst possible way. Jennifer tried to defend herself in the days that followed. Tried to explain that she was just doing her job. Tried to position herself as the victim of an oversensitive guest who couldn't handle a real conversation. But the footage didn't lie. The footage showed exactly what happened. And the court of public opinion had already made its verdict. Wesley, for his part, never spoke about it again after that initial statement. He didn't do a revenge tour. Didn't go on other talk shows to trash Jennifer. Didn't write a tell-all article. He just moved on with his life, with his career, with his dignity intact. And maybe that's the real lesson here. Sometimes the best response to disrespect isn't a bigger, louder fight. Sometimes it's just walking away, refusing to engage, refusing to give someone the satisfaction of watching you squirm. Wesley Snipes walked off that stage and never looked back. And in doing so, he won. Not because he got the last word. Not because he embarrassed Jennifer Hudson. But because he protected something more valuable than any of that. He protected himself. His peace. His sense of self-worth. When you watch that footage, when you see him stand up and walk away, you can see it in his face. The relief, the freedom, the power that comes from knowing you don't have to tolerate mistreatment just because it's expected of you. That studio audience sat in silence as Wesley left. But if you listen closely to the recordings, you can hear something starting to happen. A slow build. A few people starting to clap. Then a few more. Then more still. Until by the time Wesley reached that exit door, a good portion of the audience was applauding him, applauding his courage, applauding his decision to leave. And Jennifer had to stand there and listen to it. Had to stand there and realize that she'd lost the room, lost the audience, lost the respect of the very people she was supposed to be entertaining. That's the thing about live television, about real, unscripted moments. The truth comes out. You can't edit it away. You can't smooth it over with clever camera angles or post-production magic. What happens, happens, and everyone sees it. What happened that day was simple. A guest came on a show expecting respect and didn't get it, so he left. That's it. That's the whole story. But in that simplicity lies something profound. A reminder that respect is not negotiable, that dignity is not for sale, that sometimes the right thing to do is also the hardest thing to do. Wesley Snipes taught us all something that day. He taught us that it's okay to say no. It's okay to protect yourself. It's okay to demand better. And most importantly, he taught us that real strength isn't about sitting there and taking it. Real strength is knowing when to walk away. The cameras captured every second of it, every word, every expression, every moment of tension and conflict and ultimate resolution. And now it exists forever. A permanent record of what happens when someone decides they've had enough. When someone chooses themselves over the show. When someone refuses to be anyone's punching bag, no matter how bright the lights or how big the audience. Jennifer Hudson's show continued after that incident. She had more guests, more interviews, more chances to get it right. But that moment, that confrontation with Wesley Snipes, it lingered. It colored how people saw her. It raised questions about her approach, her style, her treatment of guests. For Wesley, life went on. Projects came and went. Interviews happened with other hosts who treated him with the respect he deserved. The incident became just one moment in a long and storied career. But it was a moment that mattered, a moment that showed who he really was when pushed to his limit. And for everyone watching, for everyone who saw that interview or heard about it afterward, it became a reference point, a measuring stick for how we allow ourselves to be treated. A reminder that we all have the power to walk away from situations that don't serve us, that don't respect us, that ask us to be smaller than we are. Wesley Snipes walked off Jennifer Hudson's show. That's the headline. That's the story. But the real story, the one that matters, is what that walk meant, what it represented, what it taught us about self, respect, and dignity, and knowing your worth. Sometimes the most important thing you can do is simply stand up and leave. And Wesley Snipes showed us exactly how it's done.